Hello everyone, this is Spring Porter with Spring Solutions LLC. In today's video, I thought I would recreate a video that I've done previously regarding what I believe to be good leads to follow. In that video, I sort of just walked through the process on finding leads and I briefly discussed why I believe it to be a good lead. But here I wanted to break down bullet point like a list style and just kind of hone in on those specific elements to what makes a good lead. So if you're interested in knowing that, please stay tuned. Uh, Let me preface the video with I'm not an attorney. This is not indicated as legal advice. This is just for anyone, basic information on anyone who's doing unclaimed funds in bankruptcy. So if you have not watched my videos listed below, please watch them first. These sort of are like blueprints to bankruptcy and they sort of lay the foundation. And the video that I'm doing currently is sort of adding an extra layer. So you may want to watch the Bankruptcy 101. That's going to discuss Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 in layman's terms, the differences and the similarities between the two. And then the second video of why are there unclaimed funds in bankruptcy. Those are important before you move on to finding your leads. So watch those first, and then maybe you can watch this video. And if you like, you can watch the one that I did previously on going through the process and actually calling potential claimants and doing that whole thing. So let's move on. So elements to a good lead. The first one, the funds have to be available. You can check, and I will show you after this as we walk through two particular districts. I'll pull two good leads and two leads that I believe not to be so good to follow. So when you check the funds locator, they have to, sometimes they're there, but the funds have already been claimed. So you want to make sure that you're checking the court docket to make sure that the funds are verifying that they're still there. All right, don't just go after the highest claim and then you find out later that, oh, someone has already retrieved them. So another element to a good claimant is you have to make sure the claimant is easy to locate and they're responsive. Usually, I mean, you can contact person one by email and they'll respond to you, but if they no longer respond to you or they don't get you the documents that you need, that's not a good lead if they're not responsive. And keep in mind that claimants can be husband and wife if they file jointly. It could be just an individual who's getting money back, or it could be a corporation. Corporations are a little tricky because you're having to contact someone who filed the claim. And I have videos on how you check the claims register for more information. I may do a separate video on that because that's very detailed when you're looking at claims and you're reviewing the claims register. At any rate, you have to find that particular department. So if you're dealing with a Capital One or a Bank of America, a Wells Fargo, you're going to have to find the collections department. First, get through member services, contact the collections department, and then you're going to contact the bankruptcy specialist who is there. Who may be different because he or she could have changed jobs. So as you can see, this is a little bit tricky to try to navigate through the business side of it and trying to research claimants. That becomes a little bit tricky. But if you know someone that is able to do that, then by all means try it. Keep also in mind that husband and wife, if they filed jointly and they're both getting unclaimed funds, money is owed to both of them. Even if they're divorced, you're going to have to get their signatures on that application for unclaimed funds. So that could be problematic. Also, you could run across deceased claimants. So then you're dealing with a probate issue, and you're going to have to find out who's the executor or who's, dealing with their probate case, and you're going to need death certificates. So it just becomes a little bit more complicated. So pick the right claimant and then make sure that they're easy to locate and that they are responsible. Another element to making a good lead is the information needed to file the application for unclaimed funds is easy to locate. I've done previous videos where I walk you through the different districts and I show you how to find the instruction packets. Some are easy to locate and some are not. So you want to make sure that you do that research, that step first, and researching before you contact and you get something under contract, because you don't want to be caught red-handed and you're like, oh, I don't even know if I can work in this state, or I don't even know if they accept third parties, which is the next one. So if you're dealing with a district, make sure that you know where the instruction packet is. Make sure that you know who the clerk is. You can contact them for more information to figure out, one, do they recognize third parties? Do you get paid directly? Just make sure that you know that up front. That is what's going to make a difference in this becoming a good lead or like a really big nightmare for you. You want to make sure that the payout time is reasonable. I mean, if you're waiting 6 months for like an $800 claim, that's not reasonable. But if it's maybe for something that's 8,000, I mean, yeah, that seems reasonable. Or 80,000, 90,000. It just depends on what is considered reasonable to you. The payouts are across the board. Again, I've stated that all the states follow their local court rules, and they have their own interpretation of bankruptcy rules. So you're going to have to just double check with the clerk or check the court's website. Some of the payouts could be 3, 4 weeks, and some may be 9 months. So you have to figure that out for yourself on what's reasonable. And then also the amount. The amount is listed last because you would think, as a funds locator and an asset locator, you're like, oh, let's just go after the money. You are going after the money, but it has to make sense. All these particular elements should, all coincide together. You can't just go after the amount and then the claimant is not easy to locate. The information is not available. But the amount is $400,000. It's not going to make a difference if you can't get it, if you can't retrieve the funds. So just keep that in mind. This is not probably a complete list on what it takes to make a good lead. So far, this is what I've come across in my own plan and trying to build this business, that these are what I believe to make good leads. So let's take a look at a few examples. We're going to start with the Northern District of Georgia, which is Atlanta, and then we're going to also go over to in the Eastern District of Wisconsin. So let's close this, and then we're going to pull up the funds locators. UCF.uscourts.gov is an unclaimed funds locator list. This has all of the lists. Most, but not all of them, are listed here. I have videos on how to find other leads that are not listed in your jurisdiction. That's not listed here. So we're going to start with Georgia, and we're just going to search. And again, this site is ucf.uscourts.gov. For anyone who's new to this, right here it lists the total amount of creditors that have unclaimed funds in this district of Georgia. Is over 31,000. This list is just the jurisdiction or the court. This is the case number. This is the creditor. This is the debtor, and this is the amount. These 2 digits indicate the year that it was filed. This envelope is the last known address of the creditor. All right, just for anyone who's new to my channel, who's never used this site. So if you click on the amount twice, it's going to bring you up to the highest claim. So that's 1 and that's 2. Because not all of these 31,228, not all of them are going to be something that you're going to want to work on. So if you just sit here and you're like, okay, I'm going to work on this Kensington furniture, this warehouse and storage filed bankruptcy, and this is the creditor. So if you click on this case, you see all of these creditors here. So this is something that I would not work on. You would have to plug this number into Pacer and it will give you a long list. I'm sure that Nationwide Warehouse was a really big company and then they went under and then all these people started filing claims. So this is Kensington Furniture here, but this case is from 2001. So you're going to have to use sort of your discernment and just sort of figure out what is going to be reasonable for you. Obviously there is money here, but again, going back to the elements, are they going to be responsive? Can you even locate them? Is the company dissolved? Is it still working? You have to do some research here. You can't just go from the number I mean, that can be a beginning motivational factor for you to sort of search it, but you're going to have to, it's not going to come to you easy, is what I'm saying. So I would not use this. I would not do this for the sake of time. Save yourself the headache. I mean, it's not impossible. It's just going to take you a lot more time and you're going to have to do a lot more digging. All right, so let's see if I can find one that I would search. So that wouldn't be a good claim, in my opinion. All right, so let's go back to the drawing board and we're going to go to amount twice. And then let's see if I can pull a good lead and I'll walk you through Pacer again. Again, I've stated that Pacer is not a free site. It charges you 10 cents a download. There is a workaround. It's called courtlistener.com. I have a video on that. I'll put the link in the description box. It does have some limitations, but it could be a potential workaround that could save you money. So that's always good. So let's look at this Larry Phillips. Okay, so let's click into the case number. And Larry Phillips filed bankruptcy. Capital One filed a claim and his case for $14,791. So if we want to verify to see that the funds are there, let's pull this case in Pacer. So 14,66726. So we plug that in. We're going to go to docket report. We're going to run report. And we see already that the case has been closed, which is good. All right, so we're going to go all the way down here. The notice of unclaimed funds was filed into the court. So you don't see an application here for unclaimed funds. No one has pulled the money out of the register for this. So the funds are still available. You want to view the document. Here it is that says that the trustee is basically submitted these funds to the court. And here's the last known address. And it should also be here. See? So there's probably, obviously it's a wrong address. They have the wrong address for Capital One. Now, what we also need to do, I want to see, if you want to see who filed the actual claim, again, that's going to be for the creditor. You have to go to the claims register. I will probably do a separate video on this coming up. But here, this is the claims register for all the claims that were filed in this particular case. So we're going to look for Capital One on the left. And here it is, Capital One filed a claim. And this is interesting because it was filed by the trustee. The trustee is a court-appointed attorney. If you reviewed the Bankruptcy 101 video, I'll go into further detail on what a trustee is. However, so this is the claim. Capital One, here's a telephone number. So if you're wanting to work this particular claim or this lead, you would contact this number here, contact someone at Capital One. And again, you're dealing with a banking type of situation, you may get a runaround, but that is at least a start for you. You have a number, you have an old address. If I go down, there's a signature block will tell you who filed this claim. Now, interesting enough, this particular claim was filed by the trustee. I guess there was money left over in the court. The job of the trustee is to review assets and to uncover, try to pay money back to the creditors. So in an effort to get the creditors paid, they filed this claim on their behalf. So Capital One is not even aware that a claim was filed on their behalf. So this would be a little bit more challenging, but certainly not impossible. You could save this, maybe reach out to Capital One, send a letter. Maybe you could send in this document if you like to say, hey, there are funds available. So this is something that is potentially a good lead. One, if the funds are available, it's a decent amount, and here you have a contact number, okay? Now, what you need to do next, staying in the lines of what makes a good lead, is search for the unclaimed funds on the Bankruptcy Court website. So this is the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, Northern District of Georgia. You're going to go to their website, and you're going to search unclaimed funds, and you pull up the instruction packet. As I mentioned in previous videos, it's here. And for this particular district, there needs to be a petition. And it tells you what else you need. And all of it, I think they even listed here. So here's your motion. You just fill in the blanks. And here's a certificate of service for the mailing. And they already have the U.S. Attorney's Office listed there, the address. And then there's a potential order for the judge to sign. So they've laid it all out for you. And this is formula writing. This is all you need to do is just plug in what you need. And then so this one would be a good one. Again, the funds are available. There's a contact number potentially. You'd have to do some digging, but at least you have a start. And here you have the documents are readily available. And clearly they do recognize third parties because it says fund locators right at the top. So, and the amount is decent, right? So this is something that you could potentially work. Keep in mind not to use different districts' forms. You can't use, this is catered to the Northern District of Georgia. So you wouldn't be able to take this petition and try to use it in the Eastern District of Virginia because they have different local rules. So just be mindful, just because you have a template, you can't always use it. It has to be catered to that particular jurisdiction. All right, so you've seen a good lead in Georgia and you've seen a not so good lead in Georgia. Now let's go to the Eastern District of Virginia, or I'm sorry, the Eastern District of Wisconsin. So we're going to go back to the unclaimed funds locator. We're going to click home and we're going to type in Wisconsin Eastern and we're going to search. I've never gotten a lead here or worked in this area. I sort of forget about the Midwest sometimes because I'm on the East Coast. But anyway, you type in or click amount twice. Again, that brings you up to the highest claim. So let's see. I'm trying to find one that would not be a good claim to work. This one may be a good one. Let's look at the good one first. So let's do a case search. Let's pull up Lorraine Miller. She filed bankruptcy and then the Social Security Administration filed a claim on their behalf. So 1631015. Let's see if this is a good lead. So far, it appears to be. I mean, I don't. Dealing with government agencies could be tricky, as I've mentioned, similar to banks, but it's not impossible. You just have to keep digging and trying to find the right person. So this case appears to be closed. And we're going to scroll to the bottom. And here is a receipt for unclaimed funds. After the funds have been listed in the registry, there is no application for unclaimed funds. No one has retrieved them. So these funds are still here. And if you click this list, here's the letter that said, that the Social Security Administration office filed a claim. So the funds are available. And you want to see, if you want to see the claim itself, you go to the claims register. Now keep in mind when you're courtlistener.com, this is not going to pull claims for you. It may give you certain docket lists and documents in the docket, but the claims register is not going to pull. So again, there's limitations there. Okay, so this is a claims register for this Lorraine Miller case. She filed a Chapter 13. It's up here, right? So we're going to look on the left. We're going to look for Social Security Administration and see what their claim looks like. Here it is. It looks like their original claim amount was $33,000, and here it is $6,000. So I've stated in previous videos, a creditor can file a claim for what is owed, but the trustee may not pay them that full amount. So you may get questions like that when you're dealing with a creditor. Well, how come I'm only getting $6,000? Why can't I get $33,000? You're going to have to remember your place is not as an attorney. You can't give them legal advice, but you can just say, hey, the court only issued $6,000. So you don't have to go into detail, especially if you're not really understanding why. Just let them know what you do see. So if you see something that has 2 and 3 entries, go for the last one because that's the amended amount. I'm only going to click on the main document because this is 8 pages and it adds quickly. This is what a claim looks like. So Social Security Administration, and they spelled that wrong. This is their last known address. And then this is the amount. It looks like it was due to an overpayment. And this was done last May. So here you have the individual, the bankruptcy or paralegal specialist filed this claim. Her name is Musa Kosovac, and she's in Chicago. This is her address or email address, and this is her telephone number. So this could be a potentially good lead. It's a decent enough amount, I think, to go after, depending on what percent you're going to charge, and that sort of state specific. You have to check the state code to see if there's any language in there as to what you can charge. So again, the money is decent. This Music Kosovac from the Social Security Administration, maybe she is responsive to you. So that's good. Or I'm sorry, we're dealing in Wisconsin. So you would have to check the state code of Wisconsin to find out what is allowable for you to retrieve or what your finder's fees could be. Because you don't want to go over a certain amount if you're not allowed to. All right, so this looks like a potentially good lead so far. The funds are available. Again, the amount is decent. Now let's check. These are the court websites for this, and let's see if we can find the documents. And here, right here, I automatically see funds locators. So that lets me know that this district is okay with, having funds locators do these particular claims. So here's the affidavit. Again, you fill this in, case number. This is all formula writing. You fill all this in, you sign it, and then you go back. Let's see what else is available. There's a certificate of service that needs to be filled in, and they already have the addresses to where that needs to go. So this is all here. So far, this is also looking like a pretty good lead. Everything is here. You would need to just do some digging as far as finding the actual number, and hopefully that number is still working. So this is a pretty good lead. All right. And you also see how different, again, these the one in Georgia, it was a whole petition, and this one is just a few pages affidavit. So they call it something different everywhere you go. They don't all use the official form. Bankruptcy is, again, a federal rule. They have official forms that they use, but each state kind of opts in as to what they want to use or not use, and they tailor it to their liking. So this is pretty good. Let's go back to the drawing board and see if I can find one that would not be a good one to work, right? So let's go home and I'll show you how to do this again. And then I'll just close out the video not to make it too long. I think you get the gist of what I'm doing here. So let's see. Click on amount twice and see some of these are just a penny. All right, so we went to the highest. We searched Lorraine Miller. We said that was a good one. Let's go and try here. Let's look at this Lapin Electric Company. So this case is from 97, which automatically tells me this is not a good one to go after. And whoops, where was that? I'm sorry, it went to a different amount. Let's go back and find it. The site's not always easy to maneuver through. All right, I tried this one, the George Lapin case. All right, so there are a lot of claimants in this particular case. This was an electric company that probably went under. Clearly, they filed bankruptcy. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of different claimants. So this one is not a good one to research because you have to verify what funds are available. And again, Pacer is not cheap. It's going to charge you a lot of money to do this. So look at some of these claims are $1, some are 5, some are 255. I mean, these are not really worth it. There's 153 creditors that have filed claims in this case. So this one here is 5,287. I think this is the number I saw initially. So you would have to contact someone in Juneau Lightning to see if they still want to, recover these funds. And to be honest, again, this is from 97. So this is not something that I would work. Although a $6,000 claim, with maybe 25 or 30% as your fee wouldn't be a bad deal. It's just, I don't know if it's worth paying all this money in Pacer to research and pull documents, because this is going to be a heavy docket. So that, in my opinion, would not be a good one. All right. So I'm hoping that this is helpful for people out there trying to determine what would make a good lead, and then you're having to figure out, how much is that going to cost you in Pacer if you have to pay for the documents. So again, what makes a good lead? The instructions are clearly listed on their website. It's easy to locate, the clerk and call them if it's, you can't find information. The money is decent in here, and they're easy to locate. The funds are still available. All those things are important when you're trying to find leads. So I hope that this video was helpful to you. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.